This morning, the song that I'd like to sing with you is a call and response. So I'm going to sing a line, and you in your living rooms light it up. It is time to sing. All together at the end of the song, we're going to sing the words, "And the whole wide world is my home." And we'll sing that line together, but everything else is a call and response. I hear the music down in my soul, down in my soul. I hear the music down in my soul. I hear the music down in my soul, and the whole together wide world is my home. I've got a new day, I got down in my soul. I got a new day down in my soul. I got a new day down in my soul. Together, and the whole wide world is my home. I love the silence down in my soul. I love that silence down in my soul. Oh, I love those silence down in my soul. And the whole wide world, and the whole wide world is my home. I feel the power down in my soul. I feel the power down in my soul. I feel the power down in my soul, and the whole wide world is my home. Oh yes, it is. One more time, the whole, and the whole wide world is my home.
I want to talk about today about what it means to us religious scientists, this happy Easter, this resurrection, if you will. And Mary Morrissey says you can't have a resurrection without a betrayal. And so when I was telling Paul about my talk this morning on the way here, and I went through the different things that I was going to do, he went, "Oh, and happy Easter to you too." And I said, I'll get there. I'll get there. However, let's talk about betrayal. Because if today is a day that we can resurrect, then let's talk about how we have been betrayed. How many Judases do you have in your life? Or have you had in your life? I assume, like me, you've had more than one. And sometimes, like Jesus, it's somebody that you really trust. A best friend, if you will. Somebody that you absolutely have shared your confidences with, and then you find out other people know about those confidences. So they betrayed you by letting go of your secrets. Or you're at work and you do this fabulous job for your boss, and then when he presents it to everybody, he takes credit for everything that you've done. Or how about a partner who does something that you never expected them to do? You love them deeply. This is, they're your quote-unquote soulmate. And then something happens and it's a deep, deep betrayal. You feel a little bit crucified. And what you start to do is you start to build evidence. And those evidence put you in your own personal tomb. Now, the biggest betrayal of all is how often do you betray yourself? How often do you forget that you're God-informed? How often do you think because of some exterior thing about you, be it the way you look, how old you are, how young you are, how far you went in school, whatever you did, how much money you have, how much money you don't have, how do you tomb yourself up? Because you have this belief within you that you're not good enough. And not good enough can look like a whole lot of different things. Anytime we stop ourselves because we have a so-said reason that we don't believe we are truly God-informed. And we start to build that wall of protection around our heart and around our soul. We absolutely entomb ourselves, that bright light that we are. And so, I will ask again, how many of you have experienced a Judas in your life? You can respond yes. Have one, have two, have many. Have a plethora of Judases. Because here's the deal. As we start to experience something that is unkind, and we start to put up that wall, what we start to do is, unfortunately, attract more of the same. Because we start to worry and fret and look at, is this person going to do the same thing? Is this boss going to betray me? Is this partner going to betray me? Is this best friend going to tell all my secrets to people? And so we shut ourselves off. And so today is a day to really start to open up your heart, to really be broken open. And the only person that can do that for themselves is you. How do you break yourself open? How many times have you told a story? And when you tell it to people, it takes you right back to that moment in time, because it is still so real for you. And then what happens is, you not only retomb yourself up, you start to attract things that seem kind of familiar. They might look a little different, but there's that experience again. Oh, I know I can't have a best friend because they'll just betray me. See, for me, when that happened, I was in 6th grade. I was in 6th grade, and I can remember, there were 13 girls, and we hung out together all the time. We did everything together. And I went to my grandmother's funeral on a weekend, and when I came back, none of them would talk to me. Not one. They, if I got on the bus and they were sitting by themselves, they'd either move over or they'd put their books down. I remember at one time taking a spelling test, and the person that had my paper was one of these girls, and she added S's to the end of every one of my words, so they were wrong. Do you want to know what kind of wall I built for myself? It's pretty powerful, because I would say I don't really claim people as my best friend. Because the second thing that happened when that healed itself, right on top of that, and my best friend was part of these 13 people, then she also betrayed me. And then, when I was in 8th grade, her name was Cass, we went to the ocean. My family always went to the ocean for a week. And we went to the ocean, and we were walking along the beach, and these 2 boys pulled up on they weren't motorcycles, they were bikes with, they were little tiny, they were bikes, but not like big motorbikes that you'd ride on the road, and asked if we could have a ride, and they said, sure. So we're riding along the beach, and, they're going out so that the water will splash up on you, and then they're going up and down, and we're getting wet, and we're laughing, we're having so much fun. And then we drove right by my mom and her sisters as they're walking on the beach, and I was like, uh-oh, we gotta go. We gotta get back, we gotta get into the room, we gotta get dried off. My mom will absolutely have a fit. So we get back, and we're sitting there, we're stress eating. I think the two of us ate a loaf of raisin bread, just sitting there waiting for my mom to come back. And I should remark that on the back of this motorcycle, I had on a shirt that was probably every loud color you could think of. I'm not quite sure anybody else on the beach had this shirt on. I'm not even sure anybody in the whole world even owned this shirt but me. So as my mom walks in and she says to me, so, where you guys been? Nowhere. And she looked right at me, because my mom has this deadpan way of calling you out. Really? Well, then your shirt must have been down on the beach without you, riding behind a couple boys on a motorcycle. Now, why do I tell you that story? What does that have to do with Judas? In September, Cass got leukemia. And what the doctor said to her mother, and what her mother repeated to my mother that I either heard or my mother told me, was the doctor believes we all have a cancer within us, and that a shock can make that cancer active in your body. And so I believed, number one, 6th grade, you can't trust your best friend, and number two, and now you kill her. Because that's what I believed. Is it true? Absolutely not. But we're talking about somebody who is coming into, barely teens, hormones racing, and guilt, and remorse, and pain. And
How did
so,
you kill her?
Pardon?
How did you kill her?
Oh, I killed her because, I thought you guys got that piece. I believed I killed her because of what the doctor said. That the water caused a shock to her system. The shock to her system caused the leukemia, and she died within a year. Thank you, honey. I thought it was apparent, evidently not, and that's okay. So, how do you betray yourself? You start to believe things about yourself that aren't really true. There are circumstances, there are things that happened. However, I built a really strong wall around A, having women friends, and B, ever saying somebody was my best friend. Because one of two things would happen. They would betray me, or they would die. So that's huge for me. And it was painful, and it was a lot of work to start to open up that tomb to be resurrected. Am I completely there? No. No, I'm not. I'll be real honest. I am not completely there. Do I wish I was? Absolutely. Is it something that I work on all the time? Absolutely. But to get broken open, as Mary Morrissey said, those little Judas moments in our lives are what allows our soul to break open so we can experience something bigger about who we are and why we're here. And I don't necessarily know that we all have to go through a dark night of the soul to get broken open, but maybe we do. Because right now, I think that we're all stay at home as much as possible. And so what are you doing with that time? Because it's important to think about that. What are you doing with this time? Are you calling in on Facebook Live and watching a service? Are you staying at home and complaining about how awful this is because you can't see your friends, you can't get hugs, you can't do this, you can't do that? Because if you are absolutely betraying yourself. This is, it's not something that I would necessarily in my humanness go, oh yeah, I want to be here when there's a pandemic and I can have a Sunday service and I can talk to Bob, who now looks like a bank robber today. Right? That was on my, like somebody said, that was on my bucket list of things to do. It wasn't on any of our bucket lists, consciously. However, it is a great opportunity for each one of us to start to experience life at a deeper, more profound level. It is an opportunity for each one of us to recognize what we have to be grateful for. I mean, I can hardly wait till I can have dinner with my son and his family. I have not seen him since my birthday. And yet they call all the time. They probably call more now than they did before, just to check in. Am I okay? And so to start to look for things to be grateful for. Because gratitude will lift you out of that self-imposed tomb that you're in. This morning, because I have a prayer partner that I pray with every Sunday morning, she's a minister down in Santa Cruz. And when I pray with her, I sit in the library. So if you've been in your house, you know what I'm looking at. I am looking at a huge picture window and a tree now that is now blossoming. And I just sat there, and so when we started to pray and it was my turn to start this week, I started with being grateful. How grateful I was for the beauty of planet Earth. How grateful I was that I could sit in front of a picture window and look at this magnificent tree that is starting to turn red, which quite frankly, Paul and I didn't realize that it turned red in the spring. We've lived in that house. This is our third spring, I think, or our second. And as we're walking up to the house, because we walked to the grocery store, as we're walking up to the house, he said, look, the leaves are red. And I said, yeah, that's October. So the tree's either confused or we weren't paying attention. Which do you think it is? I think it's probably we weren't paying attention. And so right now, it's an opportunity to really start a mindfulness practice. To really be mindful of your life, how you're living it, who's important to you, how you're staying in touch with those people, how you're staying in relationship with the people you live in the house with, be it your partner or be it a family. You know, people joke that they want to kill their kids. I don't think so. You know, but isn't it funny that we think that's funny? That people that are in a house with kids, that they wouldn't enjoy that time. I have one friend that is absolutely loving this time that she gets to spend with her child. She's noticing that he's blossoming because he gets to be around his mom and dad all day and all night. That's important. It's important to really own these moments that are gonna define us. How are each one of us going to enter into this new way of being? Are we gonna allow ourselves to be resurrected? Or are we just gonna come through this and then life goes on as it always had? And it's a choice. Somebody, I believe, in this community posted an article about, at the end of this, do not let the media gaslight you. Like, everything is okay. Everything's just going to be fine. Let's just go back and do life exactly as we did it before. Really, do you think that's why we're living through this? So life can go back exactly as it was before? Do any of you think your life is the same today as it was after 9/11? Do you think any of our parents' lives that, well, mine, I don't, some of you probably that your parents might not have been alive, but my parents lived through World War II. And I bet coming out of that, their life was not the same before the war. These are opportunities for us as humanity to reach in and find out, who am I? Why am I here? What's my passion? So if you're brave enough, I want you to take a moment and write down, what is your passion? Or if you don't know, what is it that you are really grateful for today because of this pandemic? Not just grateful for the sun is out, but maybe grateful because this is the first time in your life you have so appreciated nature. So just take a moment to do that if you will. You don't have to, but I invite you to just share with your community, like, what is your passion that maybe through this has now opened up and you're like, I'm absolutely going to step into that. Or to notice what you're really grateful for because this has happened in your life. And it's not just your life or my life or the life of the Genesis community. This is life on our planet right now. I have a ministerial colleague who is from New Jersey, and somebody took a drone in New Jersey. And if you've ever been in New Jersey, it's a small state with a lot of traffic because a lot of New York business moved out of Manhattan over to New Jersey. And so she took, the drone took pictures of freeways that I had rode on in the 80s when it was really, really crowded, even in the 80s, to go to work. You know, the Garden State Parkway, I-80, the Paramus Mall parking lot. It's all empty, all of it. And so just to realize what a breath of fresh air that can be. If you have lived, I had a friend who recently shared that she lives here in Burien, and so there's less planes flying over her house. And so she's grateful because there's less noise in the morning. There are so many little things that we can be grateful for, even through this. Even through this. And so I invite you to just remember that, because at best, we are halfway through our stay-at-home order. That's the best. That's what we're all hoping for, that life, that we will be released from our homes at the very least by May 4th. And to know that could change. And so to really just start to be comfortable with this time, because it's your time.